Qasem Soleimani, when he was killed, did he get a lot of negative pushback from the opposing side on why would you take somebody out that powerful? Like I remember when
this is the Iranian top. This is like the head of the CIA, FBI.
He
all
was
put
the
together.
next in line.
Yeah.
Even Zeller said, "I don't know if that was the right move to make, right? To do something like
They're
that."
still talking about
They're
it.
They're still talking about it till today. Oh yeah, and they're not going to forget about this guy because this guy had a very big upside. He could have been the face of the country as a leader to keep pushing their agenda, their philosophies, right? Mm-hmm. What happens with a situation like this? What's the next? Could there be a possibility of a revenge or a pushback or the side effects of doing something like this? Or is it more positive for ISIS to know, listen, if you do anything, we're going to constantly come and keep doing this to you? So is it a positive move on what happened? Is there any negative thing that could happen here?
To me, it's 100% positive. You know,
I agree with you.
Is there going to be, or is there a potential for blowback, revenge? Of course there is. But that, to me, you should never base decisions as to whether or not you do something based on how somebody might retaliate based on that, if it's the right thing.
You have to anticipate it, though, right? You have to be anticipating that something could happen.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at it as kind of a net reaction as far as, you know, if there's 5,000 capable guys with combat experience, with strategic value, with, you know, logistical expertise that are within these organizations, it's always better to remove as many of those people as possible. You know, irrespective of what potential blowback might be. I mean, no different than, say, your company here. Like if somebody wanted to take out your company, you know, does the thought of you hiring, you know, the next best guy or bringing somebody else in or replacing whoever, is that going to deter them from trying to crumble your company? No. Like they're just going to come at you harder. You know, even if they know you're going to respond in kind or what have you. No different than, I mean, you've had a bunch of mob bosses on. Similar mentality there is that they're going to take out who needs to be taken out and who's going to be value added to being lost by that organization. So
yeah, I got to tell you, I like this. I like that this happened because for a minute we seemed sloppy. Yeah. For a minute we seemed weak. For a minute it was like, you know, these guys can't handle anything. I love the fact that something like this happened. Forget who's in the White House. It's great that America is seen with something like this taking place. Now, it's tragic when you read it and saying, because look how this one wrote it. This one wrote it. Look, stay right there on the article. It says, the Syrian civil defense first responders of Hamas, at least 13 people died, including 6 children in shelling and clashes that followed the raid, right? Yeah. So you read that, and it doesn't look positive. It looks negative. British monitoring group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, said at least 9 people were killed in Thursday's strike, but we don't, 2 children and a woman, but you don't know if he'd killed those kids. We don't know who those two are. Those his kids, because on Wikipedia it says he killed himself, right? Mm-hmm. He blew himself up. I'd be curious as information comes in to see what that situation was like in Syria.
Mike, years ago, I mean a handful of years ago, all we would hear about was the Syrian civil war. I remember when Gary Johnson, the Libertarian Party, was running for president. This was in 2016 when Trump won and obviously edged out Hillary Clinton. He completely shit the bed because they said, what are your thoughts on what's going on with Aleppo, right?
And he was like, what's Aleppo?
And he's like, what's Aleppo? I was like, brother, you want to be president? You don't know the capital of Syria? What the hell are you talking about right now? And that guy was done. But what is going on in Syria these days? We heard so much about Assad, chemical warfare on their citizens, you know, ISIS. You know, it's so like... You have ISIS, and then you have the Taliban in Afghanistan, and then you have Syria and the dictators and like the Shiites and the Sunnis and these people, and then the Kurds up there. It's we can't figure out who to kill who. And then the government is fighting ISIS, but we're fighting ISIS, but we're also against Assad. We don't hear a lot about it these days. To Pat's point, can you make some sense of it, or is there no way to make sense of what to do going on over there?
Well, being a part-time janitor at the CIA, let me tell you what's going on. I mean, the short answer is it's not as involved as it was, 4 years ago. Is it still a mess the same way a lot of places are still a mess over there? Yes. To try to dissect it and understand, the cause and effect and what is really going on. I mean, to me, you really need to spend time there, and try to evaluate it almost from a journalist standpoint of not taking sides and just there figuring out what that is. why there's not more attention paid to it, I think, just really stems from the fact that Afghanistan, heated up with the drawdown and then the debacle of the withdrawal from there, as well as Iran getting nuclear material and things happening between Israel and Palestine the same way that it has for the last several years, and so there's just so many different things going on there that are all kind of equally terrible. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily any worse than 7 other places over there. It's just you're not hearing about it because there's no reason to hear about it. There's not an election going on. We have almost no involvement over there, and so it's just not on the radar, especially with something like COVID. Here, making such a big deal out of that, it's a priority thing.
And is ISIS still as powerful, or
no,
they're not anywhere near? Okay.
They're nowhere near as powerful. Do they still exist? Yes. There's a faction. There's ISIS-K in Afghanistan that's caused a lot of problems. But to me, they're smaller than they used to be.
What caused that?
By quite a bit. Mostly the 4 years that Trump was in office of really getting after it from an offensive standpoint as opposed to a reactive standpoint.
In what way?
Just, operations like this times 1,000. There was a lot more troop presence there. We took a lot of intelligence-based measures to execute missions like this and other ones to push them back and take territory back and get rid of high-value targets and things of that nature.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.